Hello ladies and gentlemen and TV series lovers of all kind, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am your host Brett Murphy, and for today's video I have a brand new tier list video for you all. And I am going to be covering all of the Stranger Things characters. Well, most of them anyway, all of the major characters and some of the minor characters. And of course at the end also I will be doing my ranking of all of the characters after they have been placed in their tiers. So fun fact, Stranger Things is one of my all-time favorite series, so I have no idea why I really haven't covered it more on the channel. Just recently, when Stranger Things 4 or Season 4 dropped, I did release my thoughts on that as well as a ranking of all of the seasons, but haven't really gone any deeper than that until today. Before we hop into the actual tier video itself, I just wanted to let you all know that I have an entire playlist dedicated to all of my tier videos, so be sure to check that out and I guarantee you'll find something you like. And so, without further ado, let's start tiering it up. Alright, so first things first, I have got to give credit where credit is due on this one. Normally, as in every other time I've done one of these videos, I created my own tier list and did a video on that. However, this time around, through doing a bit of research, I actually found this tier list, which is better than I ever could have done it. It comes from the creator Pangui. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I will have the tier list itself linked in the description, as well as a little screenshot or pop-up of some sort to show this creator and all their hard work. They have every single character I could have possibly thought of, and then some, and then they also went the extra step by going through, as you see down the bottom here, having every single character named first and last name for most of them in the Stranger Things font. So I know that I could not have possibly done it any better than this. In fact, this is way better than what I would have done. So I will be using this one for today's video, and I just wanted to shout out the creator of this tier list because it is not me for the first time ever on this channel. Nevertheless, though, I do still have the tiers named the way that I like them, and normally this is what I start off with, so I'll go through that as well. It's still pretty standard, however, I just made them a little more me, a little more unique to my identity in the channel. So right up here, replacing the God tier, or the G tier, or the S tier, whatever you want to call it, is godlike. Replacing the traditional A tier is awesome sauce. Instead of that B tier, you have good as gold. Instead of C, it's quite alright. Instead of D, it's super meh. And then down way at the bottom, where F would normally be, we have rock bottom. Alright, and now we can honestly, finally, get into the actual tiering, and I feel like there's going to be some controversial ones here, so we'll see. And we're starting off with some heavy hitters. Arguably the heaviest hitter, without a doubt, 11 is going right into that godlike tier. Look, Millie Bobby Brown, this was her breakout role. She's an absolute star now. Everybody knows her name, and for good reason. It's not just because she's the face of the show, considering her face is always the biggest and plastered front and center on every single poster for every single season, but she's also an immaculate actress who has given incredible performance after incredible performance each and every single season. I think she's had probably the best character arc so far, has had beyond the best character growth. I simply adore the character and the actress who portrays her. 11, without a doubt, going into that godlike tier to start us off. Mike Wheeler, this one actually might be controversial because I'm going to put him as good as gold for now. Season 1 and Season 2 Mike Wheeler, in my opinion, are not the same as Season 3 and Season 4 Mike Wheeler. He has not just taken the back seat. The guy's all the way in the trunk at this point. He barely gets anything meaningful to do. He's barely on the show half the time, and he's kind of just turned into a bit of a whiner, and I don't really care for the character all that much anymore, which is a shame because he probably would have been right next to 11 in godlike if we were talking strictly about Season 1 and Season 2. I put him in good as gold. I probably would have stuck him in awesome sauce for Season 3, but Season 4 felt like another major downgrade for Mike, which makes me drop him into good as gold. I'm hoping, because I like Finn Wolfhard, I really do, and I like the character Mike very much, so I'm hoping that in some way, shape, or form he can be redeemed in this upcoming 5th and final season. Going with Lucas now. Lucas is going in awesome sauce. This is a character that has honestly gotten even better because he was kind of a bit of a whiner, a little bit of a wimpy kid that kind of got on my nerves a little bit in Season 1. However, the character has progressed far beyond what I would have expected as the seasons have gone on, and I especially liked his arc in Season 4 where his relationship with his friends was strained because he was stuck between two friend groups because he's, you know, good at basketball. He made the basketball team, but then he also still loves loves Dungeons and Dragons and being with the friends he grew up with, and he also has a very strained relationship with Max. So I really enjoyed what they did with Lucas in season 4, and I've honestly found that this character has just steadily gotten better as the seasons have gone on, and I'm really hoping that they can knock his arc out of the ballpark come this 5th and final season, and we can really bump him up to that godlike tier after that final season is out. Dustin Henderson, good old Dusty Bun, absolutely going in godlike. Possibly my favorite character of the entire series. I will do a little ranking at the end of this. I'll put them in order like most people normally do when they do these tier videos now. But yeah, Dustin makes me laugh the hardest. Dustin is probably the most relatable and down-to-earth character of the bunch. And I think that Gaten Matarazzo, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, is exceptional. He's awesome, he's hilarious, he's funny, and he just seems like a really nice person too, on top of the character being amazing. Will is a tough one to place because he really isn't in season 1 basically at all. Season 2, he's possessed for most of it. Season 3 and 4, he's kind of just a plot device. But I am going to put him in awesome sauce because I love Noah Schnapp so much. The kid is so charismatic, he's so charming, he's funny, and he's very relatable in all of his interviews. He just seems like a normal dude, and I feel for Will, and that's why I think I put him in awesome sauce, is because I feel for the character so much. He is the one that's the biggest outcast of the group, the one that hasn't really branched out as much, and the one who's by far been through the most shit and lived to tell the tale. So, Will Byers, at like, what was he, 10, 11 years old, survived a week or more in the Upside Down by himself, and now, since seasons upon seasons have passed and we've delved just deeper and deeper into the Upside Down, we know just how dangerous it is in there. So the fact that Will made it through, yeah, gotta give credit where credit is due on that one. Nancy, another character that has only gotten better. She was just the bratty, loud, arrogant older sister in season 1, and instead she has just grown and developed into this incredible character whom I truly adore. I really do. I think Nancy, not only has she become arguably the most badass next to 11 in the series, you know, wielding shotguns and giant friggin' magnums and things like that, and just taking no shit at all, but she stands up for herself, and I admire that so much, especially in season 3. She wants to be a reporter. She's down in the dirt. She's getting her hands dirty. She's doing what she needs to do, doing the research, digging up all the facts and whatnot, and she's sticking up to the people that are trying to keep her down, and I really do admire that so much from the character, and Natalia Dyer as well as an actress. Now we have Jonathan, and Jonathan, I'm going to go good as gold for Jonathan too. Season 1 and Season 2, Jonathan could have potentially been an awesome sauce or maybe even godlike. I really liked the character that much, but Season 3, I found he was really just kind of at odds with Nancy, and he was kind of contributing to that, bringing her down and just seeing her as like, you know, another girl and whatnot, because I mean, obviously it's in the 80s, so women didn't necessarily have as many leadership roles and whatnot as they do today. Well, it's really still an issue today too, but we're not going to get into that in this video. And I just found that he was really dragging her down in Season 3, and then in Season 4, he was barely in it. He went through an entire character change that was completely off screen that we didn't see at all. He moved away, became a major stoner, and then he kind of just got on my nerves in Season 4, so I dropped him down just a hair. Speaking of hair, how about Steve the Hair Harrington going right into that godlike tier? I mean, Steve, again, is a character that everybody has fallen in love with, including the creators, because a little birdie told me, and by birdie I mean someone tweeted it out, and I think it was actually from an interview. Steve was originally supposed to die at the end of Season 1, but they loved the performance so much, they loved the character so much, that they just kept him around, and then he just got better and better and better. Each and every season, I find that Joe Keery turns in an even better performance, and Steve just continues to progress and grow as a character, for which I am all on board for. He went from just the typical high school jock, bully, douchebag, and then now he is this hero among heroes, and I think that's just awesome. So love him. Now we have Joyce, and believe it or not, Joyce I actually think is going in the godlike tier. Winona Ryder is one of a kind, and she proves that time and time again with every new season of Stranger Things. In the first season, she was the mother that nobody believed. She knew her son was alive. She was experiencing all these things from the Upside Down before anyone else was. Season 2, she's trying to get her life together. She's got good old Bob Newby, who we'll talk about later. She is a bit of an overbearing mother, but understandably so. And then as the season progresses, just like Nancy, she learns to stick up for herself. She learns to have a backbone. She learns to take no shit and give even less. And I freaking love Winona Ryder, and I freaking love Joyce Byers, so 100% in godlike without a regret. Hopper, too, is also going in godlike. Look, David Harbour is an amazing human being, and Hopper, again, talk about character growth. He's just eating fast food and smoking and drinking his life away when we find him in season 1, and then, again, he turns into this full-blown hero where we are now, and we all absolutely love Hopper, without a doubt in my mind. I don't think anybody out there doesn't like Hopper. It's no different for me, and he also may potentially be my favorite character. I don't know, it's tough. I got a lot of characters I love in this show, for sure. Now we have Brenner, and Brenner, despite what a terrible human he is, Matthew Modine is a fantastic actor, and he portrays Brenner so well, and to a certain degree I understand Brenner's motives. He finds all these children, and it does seem like at times he does have their best interests in mind, and then other times he definitely doesn't. But again, it was the height of the Cold War. He was doing his part, height of the Cold War in the series, of course, and he's trying to get them to use their abilities to spy on the Russians and do this and do that. So it's one of those characters that, if you look at it from a certain angle, you can understand why he's doing what he's doing, and it's not like he necessarily abuses them outright all the time. I think he really does care for Eleven on a certain level, but he's also definitely not a good person. However, Matthew Modine is, and he's a great actor as well. Max Mayfield, yeah, in godlike. When she was introduced in season 2, probably would have just put her in awesome sauce, but with season 3 and now season 4, especially season 4, she is definitely going in the godlike tier. The episode, Dear Billy, I think it's called, the one where Max really does take center stage, is arguably the best episode of the entire series. And that all comes down to Max and Sadie Sink's performance. Now we have Billy, and Billy, honestly, this is a tough one. I'll put him a little bit higher. I'll put him in good as gold. I love Dacre Montgomery's performance, and I know I'm saying I love a bunch in this video because I love this show. I was very transparent about that. Yes, he is definitely a misogynistic, racist piece of shit. He's abusive, he's rude, he's ignorant, he's arrogant, he's all these things that you don't like, but then you just have to give even more credit to the performer for bringing this character to life and making him so hateful. Again, I mean, they kind of rectified it a little bit in season 4, the second half, but the first half of season 4, I didn't get why they were trying to make it seem like Billy was this big character that everybody missed and everybody loved and everybody felt so bad for, and he was this hero, because at the very end of season 3, for which he was possessed for almost all of season 3, he sacrificed himself at the last second, and then they kind of cleaned it up, because I was like, he was so mean to Max, he was so rude, he treated her like less than dirt, and now all of a sudden she misses him so much, and they kind of tidied that up, because more so the fact that she's sad that they never got to mend their relationship. The fact that they never got to be like a true brother and sister, that they never really got to look out for one another and stuff. And I understand that side of things, but I still think that they played that side of the story up a little too much. I mean, just one good deed does not wipe away a lifetime of shittiness, and that's kind of what they tried to pull off with Billy. Again, I do think they bandaged that up a little bit in those last couple of episodes. However, doesn't take away from the fact that Dacre Montgomery gave a wonderful performance as Billy. Now we have Robin, and I honestly love Robin so much. I think Maya Hawke is just an exceptional human being, and I think she brings this quirky, wonderful, imaginative character to life unlike anyone really could, and that's really all I have. Erika Sinclair, also a character that has grown on me so much. She was barely in it in the beginning. Season 3, she just took over, and season 4, it's just the same. She gets included more and more every single season that passes, and for good reason. She's freaking awesome. Definitely putting her in that one there. Miss Wheeler, quite alright. Look, she's fine. She does her job. She's the mother. She only gets a little bit of screen time here and there. She definitely got the most focus in season 3, but really she just kind of pops in and out when she needs to. When she does get a bit more spotlight, I really do think that she shines, but she doesn't get the spotlight anywhere near as much as characters in Good as Gold and beyond do. Bob, newbie superhero. Nope, no, not Good as Gold. I let go of the mouse too early there. Awesome sauce. Argue with the wall all day if you want because of the characters I have in Good as Gold. I loved Bob Newby Superhero. One of the biggest crimes that this show has committed is killing him off, and I get why they did it. It was a huge emotional weight going into season 3 and season 4, and again, it did a lot of magic there with Hopper and Joyce's relationship and things that happened there, and how much it affected Jonathan and how much it affected Will. And for me, I'm just a big Sean Astin fan, okay? Huge Lord of the Rings fan, grew up watching the Goonies over and over again. I love him as a human and all of his interviews and all the behind the scenes stuff. So how was I not going to love Bob Newby? He brought this character to life, made us fall for him so quickly, and then they just snatched him away from us and broke our hearts. So I'm definitely gonna redeem some of that a little bit by putting him in awesome sauce. And now it's time for Eddie, who's kind of in a similar boat to Bob Newby, but I think I'll stick him in awesome sauce as well. I could have potentially put him higher because I think that Eddie is both the best and worst thing to happen to Stranger Things, and hear me out on that. There have just been so many memes, so many TikToks of people just mimicking Eddie, mimicking his lines and his styles and doing impersonations and all these other things that it has gotten on my nerves. Some of it is so cringeworthy, and I get that it's just people having fun, and I'm not trying to take it away from them having fun. Have all the fun you want. That's totally cool with me. I'm just saying that personally, it's getting on my nerves. However, Joseph Quinn gave arguably one of the best performances in a series in recent memory as Eddie. He made even more people than good old Bob Newby did fall in love with him, and then in typical Stranger Things fashion, snatched him away from us. I'm kind of getting sick of that because they do it like every season. They introduce a character that we love, then pull them away. Nevertheless, though, Eddie is definitely one to remember, for sure, because of all those memorable lines, because of all those memorable moments, and I will forever basically bawl my eyes out at the end of Season 4. He sacrifices himself, says he didn't run away this time. The good old master of puppets on top of the RV in the underground is just one of the most badass things I've ever seen, and then it always gets me the moment where Dustin is talking to Eddie's uncle and saying that he was a hero and that he was always Eddie right until the very end. That stuff just tears me up inside, and it's all thanks to Joseph Quinn's performance and Eddie as a character. Barb, yeah, look, Barb barely had any screen time. I know everyone says justice for Barb, this, that, Barb, but she really wasn't even on screen enough for me to care about her. Do I feel bad for her? Yes, definitely. And the reason I put her in quite alright and not lower is because of the impact that her death and, well, I guess disappearance for most people did have on at least the second season, and it's kind of loosely mentioned here and there. I think it's touched on briefly in the fourth season with Nancy a little bit between her and Vecna, but Barb, if they didn't keep bringing her up, she would have been completely forgotten. So I'm kind of in the middle on Barb there. Murray is the GOAT. I was saying that all of season 4. People get mad at me. Some people find Murray loud and annoying and obnoxious. Those are all the reasons that I love him. I think he's hilarious. It also helps that the actor's name is Brett, just like mine, so some brownie points there. But I think Murray is arguably the funniest character on the show. It's pretty close between him and Dustin. I'm always laughing. Some of the funniest moments, for me at least in the series, come from Murray. I think he's great, so definitely giving him some credit there. Sam Owens, Dr. Owens, I think his heart's in the right place. I don't think he always makes the best decisions, and of course he always does have some ulterior motives, and he's not necessarily the best person, I think, all the time. However, for the most part, I do kind of see where he's coming from with some things, and again, I think at the end of the day, like we saw in Season 4, his ideology versus Brenner ideology, he is definitely the lesser of two evils in a certain sense, because I don't think he always had Will's best interest, I should say, in mind throughout Season 2 and whatnot. So, good performances, of course, for good old Dr. Owens, but not necessarily the best character or the best kind of guy or best kind of doctor. Argyle, another MVP from Season 4. Again, I was laughing every time this guy was on screen. Yes, he's kind of the typical stoner character, but he did add nicely to the mix. I thought he blended with the characters pretty well, and I thought he was fairly funny. So I'll give him that one. My boy Scott Clarke, look, I would put him in Good as Gold, but here's the thing. When you're looking at the company in Good as Gold, I don't think he quite matches up to those characters like Will, Jonathan, Brenner. I think he serves a purpose. He helps make things understandable and manageable for the kids, and in a lot of ways for the audience as well, rather than the larger than life, big science mumbo jumbo talk. But I think quite alright is where he's going to stay for now. Now we have our boy Enzo, and I will also be putting him as good as gold. I originally know this actor from Game of Thrones, like most people do, and I thought that he was a character that was a bit generic at first, like he was helping Hopper for the sake of money, backstabbing his own people, betraying them and stuff like that. But then as the season kind of progressed, and he really showed his true colors, I really did admire the character a little bit more with each and every episode that passed. So Enzo, I'll give a bit of love to. Number 8. 8. Yeah, so I'm just gonna call her for now. She's 8. Yeah, probably the worst episode of the series for most people. If you look at the ratings, it's definitely the worst episode of the series. I don't outright hate it, but I think it definitely is the weakest. I mean, if it helps her at all, 8's probably the best of the shitty bunch that we have to spend the whole episode with. But again, if she was brought back in some capacity, I think people would appreciate that episode more. But the fact that we never ever see them again, or at least we haven't until now, I don't know why that episode was ever even a thing, to show like that she wasn't alone and that others were out there that were like 11. Cool, but like, we haven't seen her since. So what purpose at all did she serve? It makes the episode even worse because they never tied it back into anything. Whatever. Anyway, Mr. Wheeler, yeah, he's a bum. He does nothing. He grumbles and groans through his lines. He barely cares about his kids or his wife at all. He's had some tender moments, but all in all, I don't really care for him. The little baby Wheeler, yeah, same thing. She hasn't really done anything for me at all. She barely has any speaking lines whatsoever. Good old Chief Powell, I think that's what he becomes. Powell, quite all right. I think if he got more screen time, I could care about him a bit more. He did get a little bit more to do in season 4, but before that, he was kind of just one of Hopper's lackeys, and he never really got a whole lot of screen time or a whole lot of attention. In season 4, I did warm up to him a bit more, but it didn't necessarily do anything for me to make me like the character anymore. And now we have Callahan, and honestly, I'll put him in super mid just because he does crack me up a little bit from time to time, but he could have just as easily been in rock bottom. As for Yuri, I'll put him in quite alright. He makes me chuckle. I think some of his scenes are pretty good. His banter with Murray, everything going on with Enzo, even though he just like 2 times someone, then 3 times them, then this and that, and keeps kind of stabbing people in the back and whatnot, and it gets kind of old pretty quick. I do think that he was pretty funny, and he did alright. And now we have Becky, and same thing. Aside from just finding out who 11's mom was, she gets a little bit of screen time, and then we never see her again, so don't really care. And same thing with Terry, her own mother. Again, I put them in here because they service the plot at a certain point, and they are key pieces to the show, technically, but if it's not a recurring thing, if it's not something that carries any weight beyond that little story arc, I don't really care for the character, and that's just kind of what happens here. Then we have the good old mayor of the town. Yeah, he was just kind of an arrogant prick. I didn't really like him a whole lot, and he, again, barely any screen time. Good old Chrissy. Again, I feel like if I hear Chrissy wake up one more time, I want to tear my ears off. But that shouldn't mean anything against Chrissy. I think she was a very immediately likable character. Everyone gravitated towards her because she was, I don't want to say a diamond in the rough, but that's kind of just, it was like a don't judge a book by its cover kind of scenario. You saw her as the cheerleader, she was dating the captain of the basketball team and blah, blah, blah. But then when she had just that one conversation with Eddie, and we saw what she was struggling with behind the scenes, it really did make you warm up to her super quickly. So yeah, Chrissy, I actually really did like Chrissy. Poor old boy Fred. I believe that was his name, Fred. It's kind of written there. It's pretty low. It is Fred. Okay, it was Fred. Look, quite all right. He was kind of he was that typical kind of weirdo outcast kid, and I feel bad for him because he was brutally murdered in just an absolutely atrocious fashion. But again, it's one of those characters that I think he was all right, and I think I would have liked him a little bit more if we got to spend a good portion of the season with him. However, we get to spend little to no time with him at all, so I don't really get to warm up to him beyond just being like, you know what, I'm kind of liking this kid. And then all of a sudden, you know, he gets his limbs snapped and his eyes sucked into his head. So can't really do much about that one there. And now we have Patrick, and I barely got to know him before he died too. We have Jason. Honestly, I'm giving Jason a bit more love than he probably deserves in most people's eyes. My backing of this is because, once again, just like Billy, you hate the character so much, but then you just have to pay your respects to the actor, okay? The actor isn't the hateable person here. The actor isn't the one we should be aiming all of our anger and disgust towards, because the actor, who's just a regular person, brought such a hateful and unlikable character to life, and that takes talent, okay? So definitely Jason going up a little bit higher than most people probably realize, but think of it, okay? Villains, in my mind, are the hardest characters to play. For the most part, it's pretty easy to get an audience to like you if you make them laugh a little bit, if you come off as relatable. Pretty much any hero of the story is at least liked by the audience. If not loved, it's hard to play a good villain, and Jason was a good villain. Now this Sullivan, whatever general guy, yeah, no, he kind of just did his job, said his generic military lines, did his thing, really, you know, track down the girl, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Didn't really care for him a whole lot. Tommy was in like the first season, never saw him again, don't really care. Heather Holloway was a lifeguard with Billy, had like 2 scenes, don't really care. Alexi, I loved Alexi, okay? You know what? Again, some people might disagree with this one. Alexi, I loved him. I thought he was so charming and so funny, and he barely even spoke. I don't think he spoke any English. Maybe like a line of English. Pretty much nothing, but he was so funny. He was so charming. He was so charismatic. I enjoyed every single relationship that he had. I liked his dynamic between him and Joyce, between him and Murray, between him and Hopper, and I was crushed when they killed him and took them away from us. Oh yeah, another one just going right down the bottom. Don't really care at all. Tom was an asshole, didn't care. Bruce was an asshole, didn't care for the character. Suzie, I'll put her up there. She fits nicely next to Fred. It's one of the characters that I wish we got more from, but you only see her in the last episode of season 3, and then like one episode, which is kind of a lesser episode in season 4, where they have that almost like Disney Channel plan so they can track down this and that and the other thing. But I do like the actress, and I do like the character, and I hope we get to see a little bit more of her in season 5. So I'll give a little bit more love to Suzie. Super mad for Victor Creel. Look, I love Robert Englund. I love Freddy Krueger. I love most of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I wish I could put Victor higher, but in my mind, he's kind of just a segue into bigger things. We hear about him briefly, we meet him once, they have one conversation, then that's it, and I highly doubt we will ever see him again. So I can't really justify putting him up with characters like Yuri, or like Mrs. Wheeler, or like Suzie even, where we've seen a few more times and have gotten a chance to warm up to at least a little bit. So, what's this? Troy was this kid's name? Yeah, just typical bully. James, is that what that's saying? I don't even remember half of these kids' names, the ones that are in like an episode or two. He's going down the bottom too, don't really care for him. Grigori, is this guy's name? I'll put him in quite alright, because he doesn't really have a lot of like character development. He doesn't have a lot of character beats or moments, but I love the Terminator, and this guy was very much so supposed to be like the Terminator of season 3. He takes a ton of punishment, he stalks our characters, and he does his job. He kills people, he does this thing, he's super strong, goes toe-to-toe with Hopper more than one occasion. So I liked him for that, because it, you know, gave me Terminator vibes, and I love Terminator, but as a character, doesn't really do much for me. Angela, typical bully character, don't really care for her all that much. Lonnie, we see him in the first season, don't care for him all that much. Keith, I don't know if we see him besides the one time that he hires them in season 3, don't care for him that much. Connie dies season 1, doesn't do anything at all. Claudia Henderson, oh, that's Dustin's mom, does nothing for me. I'm sorry, I'm just piling all these characters in here. If we see them once, okay, or if they're unlikable for the wrong reasons, like for instance, Jason and Billy are super unlikable, but they give great performances and they are excellent characters. If these people are just unlikable because they're just generic asshole character, generic bully character, generic character that does this for one episode or appears in one episode or does this or that, like, those aren't good characters. When you're looking at these characters, even the Superman characters, at least service the plot in some way. At least have some kind of development. At least do something or change our characters in some way, shape, or form. All of the characters in Rock Bottom do nothing for me, do nothing for the story of the show, and do nothing for the characters within the show. And that's why it's piling up pretty quickly, because again, this isn't my list. Most of these characters probably wouldn't be in here if I did my own list, but I think it's fun to also kind of discuss maybe some issues with the show that people kind of ignore, how many throwaway characters there are. Benny, okay, I could probably put Benny down there too. He's in like one episode, but he was just so awesome and so kind and caring and generous. He wore his heart on his sleeve, so I will give Benny a little bit of love there. Dottie, yeah, getting rock bottom. Axel, rock bottom. Yep, no, rock bottom. Yep. Miss Kelley, I'll put up a little bit higher because I don't think we're done with her. There's a lot of Stranger Things theories out there that are just wild and crazy and way out in left field, but there is something with Miss Kelley. There definitely is, okay? It's no coincidence. It can't be a coincidence that everyone that was attacked in some way, shape, or form, at least from my memory anyway, were in her files. We're seeing her, and then there was something to do with like a missing piece on the clock, was like her necklace or something like that. So there's definitely more to Miss Kelley. So I'll put her in Superman because we only see her like once or twice, but I'm thinking that we're going to get more of her and that she's going to become a bigger character down the line. I feel it. I feel it. I'll put, what is her name here again? Doris, is it? Yeah, it's Doris. She's just a sweetheart. Not a great character, but she's a sweetheart, and I can't help it, okay? 2, yeah, a couple of episodes, generic bully character. Sorry, I know there's a lot of generic bully characters in this show, I guess. It is inspired by, like, 80s adult-ish kids movies like The Goonies that's like mostly about kids but has some adult themes thrown in there and stuff like that. Very much so like that. Inspired by Spielberg, inspired by Richard Donner and all those good guys. All right, we're definitely getting down to the wire here. We actually still have a fair few characters left and this is getting kind of tough. But anyway, Wayne, I'll bump him up a little bit. He doesn't get a ton of screen time. Actually, I'll bump him up ever so slightly more because I do feel for him. Everyone is out to get his nephew, who he has raised, and he knows that that's not Eddie. It doesn't sound like Eddie. Eddie would never do something like that, and he was right the whole time. And that moment between him and Dustin at the end of the season just shatters my heart every single time I watch it. Florence, rock bottom, just generic nothing character. Agent Wallace, don't even remember if he does anything or what he does. We have to scroll up a little bit extra. Oh my goodness. This guy here, the other agent, I'll give him a little bit of credit for that cool-ass gunfight, the oneer that they do. That was pretty awesome. We got this guy here. I can't even tell who this is. Neil Hargrove. Yeah, no, he does nothing. And now we've landed on Vecna, and Vecna is definitely going right up in the awesome sauce tier. Look, Jamie Campbell Bower gave a magnificent performance. Gave a magnificent performance as one, gave a wonderful performance as Vecna, and is a real trooper for going through all that cosmetic makeup work, applying all those prosthetics, applying all the makeup, hours and hours in a chair, and still giving an unbelievably menacing and truly captivating performance. His go as one is eerie, is creepy. You want to think you can trust him, but you know something's off, and then when it's all revealed, he is just an absolute killer, merciless, ruthless, heartless slayer, and I loved it. I love him as one. I love him as Vecna. Vecna is out for blood, so he says in season 5, and I cannot wait for it. The Mind Flayer is like, oh, quite alright, pretty menacing. I mean, I'd be terrified if I looked up and saw that thing in the sky. Love the creature design, but doesn't really do very much. Again, it's not like an actual character, so I can't say a whole lot about that on that front. Vicky will put in Superman. I get that she's a love interest, and I think that's fine and all that jazz. I think she's definitely inspired by good old Molly Ringwald for sure, the redheaded 80s love interest and whatnot, and I like her and Robin's dynamic when they're together, but she's not in it quite enough for me to bump her any higher. Yeah, probably, yeah, definitely not another rock bottom one. These are just a bunch of characters that are pretty useless. I figure I should probably bump myself down a bit, the webcam. That way you can actually see the important characters that are actually in godlike awesome sauce and whatnot, because the ones in rock bottom, I mean, I'm probably not even going to go through the trouble of ranking them at the end of this because most of them are completely forgettable. Now we have Dartigan. Again, I'll put a Mind Flayer. Cool design and all that jazz like that. I love Dart as like a little kind of plot device, and then it turned into a Demodog and whatnot. So, yeah, you know, enjoyable enough, but not really much of a character. Jake, from State Farm. Yeah, don't care. Good old Demogorgon. Yeah, look, Demogorgon's going a bit higher, honestly. Demogorgon's going up next to Vecna. It was the OG villain, the OG monster, the thing that arguably really helped to popularize this series. And we've gotten Demogorgon after Demogorgon, and look, they are still just as dangerous, just as terrifying, and just as scary as they always were. Because there's not just one. We thought there was just one, but then there was the one in the Russian prison, and then we saw a bunch of them in the flashbacks and throughout the Upside Down and stuff. So the Demogorgons very much still very menacing villains, so we'll put them up a little bit higher there. Yeah, Anthony Hatch, cool. Yeah, do your thing, boo. Russian Demogorgon, I mean, it's still a Demogorgon, so your Russian Demogorgon, I don't know why that was necessarily included as a separate character for this list here. But yeah, still Demogorgon, and that slow-mo headshot from Hopper was amazing. It was one of my favorite moments of the entire season that was packed with amazing moments. Andy who? don't care. Basketball douche. Didn't really care for him too much. Who is this? Oh, Eden. Okay, cool. She was like made out with Argyle. We'll likely never see the character again. Don't care. Ray. Yeah, look, again, he kind of came from that episode of like, we gotta track these people down and blah, blah, blah. I think he had an okay performance in like the little bit that they had in his living room when they tracked him down and stuff, but all in all, not a very memorable character whatsoever. Who is this? Ellen. Yeah, rock bottom. Does that say Ellen? It does say Ellen. I can barely even tell who that is. Oh, I know who I'm now. Ellen. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then Marissa. Yeah, another one going in rock bottom because there's so many rock bottom characters. I didn't realize how many characters just did not service the plot in any way, were completely generic, and were just totally unforgettable. And now I kind of feel bad for putting Mr. Wheeler down there. You know what, maybe because of that, I'll bump poor Mr. Wheeler up at least just like a notch, because I don't think he deserves that much hate. I don't think he deserves to be among this company. At least the guy has something to do from time to time. Alright, now as promised, I will do my best to do a ranking. I won't be including rock bottom because looking at rock bottom is just giving me anxiety. There are so many characters there. There are so many characters I can barely remember at all. There's no purpose at all for me doing like the 20 characters that are down in rock bottom. If you're in rock bottom, you're just the worst characters, so I won't be including those in the ranking. However, I will rank the rest of them right here, right now, and I think I have made my decision. Hopper's going to be number 1 there. So Hopper marking number 1 if 11 ever decides to move. So this is how we'll go. Hopper's number 1, 11, 2. Actually, I'm going to put Dustin 2, 11, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then down here, Lucas is 7, and the next one, blah, you get it, right? So the end of the row is the end of that number, and then you start at the beginning of the next row is the next one down. So I'll probably go Hopper's my favorite, Dustin 11, probably this way. I'd probably do Steve, then Max, then Joyce, coming down to Awesome Sauce. Now this one's a bit tougher, so maybe it's easier to start with the bottom of the list. So no, that's really not any easier. Vecna definitely has to be up higher, for sure. I'd probably put Vecna here, probably put Eddie just above Vecna, Bob here. I'd probably put Murray above them as well. Murray probably right there. Bob Newbie definitely better than Argyle. Demogorgon, Russian Demogorgon, let's see, because I really, really do like Lucas's arc, and I think he's on the cusp of being in godlike, really. Will has just been through so much, although actually, you know what, I'd probably bump Will down just a tad, put him right there in front of Erika, because they're kind of at the middle where Erika did nothing, but she's gotten better, and Will, he's just been through so much, and I think he's really relatable, and I feel for him and his story. It's a tough one between those ones there. Good as gold. I'd probably put Jonathan, because he just barely got notched down there because of the 4th season. Let's see, Owens I'd probably put at the back next to Alexi. This is a tough one. Chrissy, I'd probably put her behind there. Yeah, probably also Enzo right there. Brenner probably before Jason, and then Billy there. Mike probably there, almost just kind of by default, really. Then we bump down to quite all right. Let's see who we have here. I gotta like kind of peek through it again. Okay, so Dartigan's probably there. Mind Flayer, yeah, probably. Grigori, I'd probably say put him there because he's kind of generic villain. Suzie there. Fred's definitely back a little bit more. Yuri probably right about. No, I'd probably put him above good old Uncle Munson. Carl or Calvin, sorry, probably there. Scott, Barb doesn't deserve all the love that she gets, if you ask me. Probably put her right there. She's like in the exact same boat as Fred. Yeah, I'd probably put it that way for now at least. And then the Superman, look, 8 only kind of made it by default, really. Same thing with him. Vicky there. Probably put her back. It's a little bit further. I think Miss Kelley could go up a little bit higher because I do feel like she's going to be really important as we go on. Victor Creel, probably right there, only because it's Robert Englund. If it was anyone else, I wouldn't even think to put him on this list at all. This guy's going way back because, once again, he also just does nothing. Like, he really does not service the plot in any way. He barely gets any lines at all. Terry, same thing. I'll probably put her like right there, honestly, and same thing with Becky. I get that it's 11's mom and all that stuff, but it does nothing for me as a character. Good old Callahan, probably even back below all them, I would say. Looking at Super Meh, I think that's probably good. I might look back at this like in 20 seconds and be like, oh shit, I probably should have done that a different way. But as of right now, this looks like my ranking of the characters. Again, if you want to rank all the rock bottom ones on your own, you absolutely go for that, but I'm not going to bother. So that is my tier list video on all of the Stranger Things characters, because that's really what I feel like is included here. It's all of the major ones, most of the minor ones, if not all of them, and then some extremely minor ones like one episode characters, almost background characters are included on this one too. Again, credit does not go to me for this list, and it will be linked down in the description, but that is my tier list. That is what tier each character ends up in, and so that is my ranking at the end of it all, folks. Thank you so very much for sticking with me through all of that, and now, of course, back to me for the outro. So that is all for today's video, folks. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you agree with which tier I put each character in. While you're at it, if you enjoy these tier list style videos or rankings, top 10s versus videos, or anything along those lines, then you are absolutely going to love my channel. I cover stuff like that all the time, primarily involving movies, but I also like to splash in some series and video games in there as well. So if any of that piques your interest whatsoever, be sure to smash that subscribe button right now, and don't forget to ring that little bell icon as well. That way you can be notified about all of my latest uploads. And as always, stay safe out there. Thank you so much for watching, and that's a wrap. Hey you, yeah you, if you made it this far, just know I appreciate you, and while you're here, consider hitting that subscribe button.